Hopefully this is working. So this is my presentation for race and ethnicity, uh, CRJ 306, in the involvement of minority youth and a program that's designed to assist them in the uh, going through of the criminal justice system. So as Walker, Spohn, and Delone point out in The Color of Justice, minority youth are, just like minority adults, more likely to be involved in the criminal justice system in a negative way. Statistical data found in Florida between 1979 and 1981 that African American youth were 11% likely to be detained 11%, while whites were only 10%, and adjudicated delinquent African Americans were more likely at 82.5%, while whites at 80%. And it continues in incarceration, where there's the biggest discrepancy of African Americans being incarcerated at 29.6% rate and whites being incarcerated at 19.5% rate. Similar data was found in Pennsylvania, where there was a huge disparity for African American youth, Hispanic youth, and white youth, where formally referred only 49.5% of white youth were dealt that way, while African Americans were at 61.4% and Hispanics at 59.4%. While being placed in a secure facility, white youth were only at 14.9%, African American youth at 17.8%, and Hispanic youth at 22.9%. In order to combat this, a program was installed by the Cincinnati Police Department in Cincinnati, Ohio, through a funding of a grant by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office of Minority Health, with a grant of $345,000 to help in the funding of a program called CITI Camp, which stands for Children in Trauma Intervention Camp. The use of the word camp is kind of to soften the actual program, which is more of a boot camp, which in 1990, the effectiveness of boot camps was researched by Doris McKenzie and found that when military-style boot camp was used for offenders, as long as there was follow-up by an authority figure, i.e. the boot camp company or those who are involved in the boot camp, was done, it was very likely to reduce the rate of recidivism. Now, since this program is put on by the Cincinnati Police Department, the idea is to encourage a relationship between these minority youth and the police department that serve them to kind of create that mentor mentality. So, like I said, this program has several sets of goals. The first is to improve links between police and public health agencies, then to improve academics of the youth involved, as academics are seen as the way for any youth to advance in society, whether it be minority or not. Then to reduce negative encounters with law enforcement, creating this mentorship that is developed between the youth and the police officers is really one of the key parts of this program. Since it's through the Department of Health, it does require that there's increased access to public health services. And in order to reduce community violence and crimes committed by these minority youth, by instilling in them the more socially acceptable, not breaking the law um, by using this program. It also wants to reduce minority youth victimization, since it gives youth a understanding of how to properly stand up for themselves and not become victims of crimes by anyone. So, though this program is new, there's not much research into the way of whether or not it's truly effective, but in that area, it has been picked up by several other cities and police departments to be used in um, similar situations of minority youth to discourage recidivism and encourage relationships between the police officers and minority youth um, in inner city areas. Um, I hope that accurately describes this program. In addition, I feel that this is a very effective way to be doing this, as I feel that as a former police officer and going into the education field and dealing with troubled youth, I feel that this encouraged positive relationship between youth and police officers helps to where hopefully there's not that animosity and possibly a positive turnaround for the youth. Thank you.